Welcome back to Mid-Maryland Votes. Tonight, Washington County Treasurer and County Commissioner candidate Matt Breeding joins us after months of ethics allegations, political attacks, and social media controversy tied to his campaign. Now, many of those claims have unraveled, and one of his harshest critics has publicly apologized after receiving a letter from Breeding's attorney. We talk vindication, political warfare, and what comes next. Now let's get into it. Welcome to Mid-Maryland Votes. I am your host, Mark Flynn. With me is my guest, a very distinguished gentleman, Matt Breeding. Matt, you are currently the elected treasurer of Washington County, but you're also a candidate for Washington County Council. Is that correct?
Actually, in Washington County Commissioner, yes. But
county commissioners, not councilors. Okay. Yeah. It's kind of funny how every county has a different name for mayor or burgess or county commissioner or council, but they all pretty much serve the same function, right?
Yeah. But first of all, Mark, I want to thank you for having me on tonight on Friday evening. I know you probably got better things to do.
No, I'm a pretty simple man. This is actually the highlight of my day.
Boy, you must.
My wife would say you're wrong. She would say, "Yeah, walking with her and the dogs at night was much more important." But I'm going to do that when we get done. So
you must have. I was going to say you must have a very boring life. At this
I just retired recently from the police department, so I am living life and living large.
Well, thank you for your service, my brother.
Hey, sir, you're the same. I know you were military and a police officer. You served in as a state trooper. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. So the last time you were on the show, Matt, there was some controversies brewing. People had made allegations about you. There had been a letter released allegedly from the county commissioners that was over 2 years old, but it was used to pretty much blackball you in some ways. Can you address that letter? How it came out, why it came out, and has anybody ever been held accountable for that letter coming out?
There's a bunch there to unpack.
Take any part of it you want.
Well, let's start with why it came out, in my opinion, in my considered opinion. I am certainly not part of the deep county. I am an independent voice. As the county treasurer, I'm very much an independent voice. And I serve as a check and balance. And where I've sat for the last 3 years, I've really seen where the skeletons are buried. And I've had enough county employees and senior leaders in the county come to me and express concerns about many things and cover-ups. I think I'm a known threat. I don't need the job, and I'm not really intimidated easily, and that's known. So I think if I had to guess, and this sounds incredibly arrogant, I don't mean it to sound this way, they'd have to make me politically unelectable to stop me. I got almost 36,000 votes when I ran for treasurer, and I'm pretty popular with the party. And I think my chances are at least 51% of getting elected. And I think there's some fear of that.
Fear among the county commissioners in general, or the Republican network in Washington County?
For the benefit of not ticking off my legal counsel, I'm not going to expand upon that. But
now, if I remember correctly, you're actually married to your legal counsel. Isn't that right, Matt?
Well, she's an elected judge, but actually I have counsel in Frederick County. Well, it's kind of funny because the phrase in this household, being held in contempt, has taken on a whole new meaning.
It's true. But anyway, back to this letter that was released. Now, this was a private letter from personal accounts within the Washington County system, and it was released to the public. Have we ever figured out how it was released, who released it, why it was released?
I don't have the great story on that, but reading what Radio Free Hub City and Ken Buckler's work is done.
Ken does a great job.
It appears anonymously emailed from a Staples store somewhere, a business store. I have no idea if it was in this county, another county, or another state, to an individual that lives in South County. And there's no doubt, I mean, it's like the worst kept secret in Washington County that person and I have not gotten along politically. We've had our differences. Although I thought it was pretty amicable at one point. We actually saw each other in Frederick at a Subway a couple years ago, and he walked up to me and said, I just want to let you know I buried a hatchet and everything's good, and reached out and shook my hand. And I thought, well, that's great. And I offered my hand, and I thought it kind of ended there. Really just, well, many things disturbing about it to me.
Are we talking about the letter being released?
Yeah, the letter being released, but even the letter. And
Can you give our viewers a background, a quick synopsis of what was in the letter or what it alleged?
Well, I think there was two intentions there. I think one of the intentions of the letter was to try to sway the General Assembly to convert the position of the county treasurer to an appointed position versus elected. And then the justification in the letter was such that they were trying to say, well, if a person's appointed, we can take care of any problems we may have with that employee, or we can deal with them in a quicker way. If someone's elected, it takes the next election cycle. As I said to you, elected officials are bound to the voters. Appointed officials are bound to the bureaucracy, and that still remains true. But in the letter, there was many allegations alleging some pretty serious incidents, that every municipality had filed a complaint against me, and when in fact, no one has, no municipalities. As a matter of fact, when the public information request went out to the municipalities, in fact, particularly of the town of Boonesboro, it was very exoneratingly that they voted to adopt some of the procedures and things that I recommended to do to modernize the county. So that wasn't true. And one thing after another, but the one in particular was that one of my interns, and I hire interns every year, was abused by me in my office. That matter I was cleared of that, exonerated, didn't happen. I had a young man that was going through some serious family problems. I know his father very well. His father, also an Army veteran like me, asked me to hire him and said he needs some structure in his life. The family was going through some tough times. And
as all families do.
As all families do. And he was a troubled young man at the time. And he would chat with me and tell me some of the things that were going on in the home. And it was very unpleasant. And so he was kind of sitting at his desk one day and about half crying. And he actually said that they didn't have any food in the house that morning. And I made a trip out and came back with a box of donuts for him. And I put my hand on his shoulder. I said, son, it'll be okay. These times will pass. Interestingly enough, there was another boy in that room who, when he learned of these allegations, he actually contacted me directly and wrote a very nice letter and said, I was there. This didn't happen. The father wrote a very strong exonerating letter, like all Matt was trying to do was help my family and my son. But yet that was twisted. And these people knew I'm not capable of anything like this. They knew my character, my personality, my history. They know it's not possible. But they took it to use it because I really believe the intent was to damage me. And ultimately, when the leak, I think, has everything to do with election interference. But, I actually had a conversation with the county attorney within the last 4 weeks, and it was about some ethics violations. No, I don't want to say violations, ethical concerns I have, that I had authored an ethics complaint, but I spoke to the county attorney. I said, I don't want to submit these now. I said, if I submit these now, it's going to look like political interference and election interference. And I actually spoke to my attorney the other day, and I said, and he asked me why I didn't submit these. And I said, because I don't want to be like them. I don't want to do that. And I won't.
So you kind of believe it's like mudslinging, and we don't want to confuse the election issue.
Yeah, let the people decide. I'm fine. I'm fine with competition. As a matter of fact, we got a person running for county commissioner up here who's got to get 1,000 signatures on the ballot, on a petition to get on the ballot. And I saw her last week. It's like, give me your petition. I'll sign it. I'll be glad to run against you. Mm-hmm. I think it's good. I think the people need to see what's out there and make their own choice.
It's not a democracy if nobody's running.
Good point. I like that.
Matt, I know that you have been going through the fire. So it seems like you're coming out on the other side. It seems like a lot of the allegations have been disproved, including the allegation with the young intern in your office. There were other allegations in the letter. Do you want to address any of those?
It's kind of funny. One of them in particular, where someone supposedly made a complaint against me, and a senior official in the county. And I'm walking down the hallway in my office one day, and there's a glass wall between the hallway and my lobby. And I see a person in the lobby, and I could hear a loud voice and arms raising in the air and all this stuff going on. I thought, oh my God, another homeless woman in my office that I've got to walk out on the street. And I say that another because my building doesn't have any security, and I've had to deal with that. And when I walked in and saw who it was, it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? You understand it, being in law enforcement. I did everything I could to de-escalate the situation while this person was yelling at one of my employees. So I sat him down and calmed it down, and we had an understanding, and it was over a utility billing issue, and my people were completely in the right on this. It was looked into. I wrote that person an email and said, I'm not one to demand or ask for an apology, but if I did something like that, I wouldn't have to ask. You wouldn't have to ask me. No one, no county commissioner, no elected official, no director in this county has the authority anywhere to admonish my people. That's my job if it's necessary. But don't do that again. And that must have really offended them to the point that they complained. But I made the point to do a memorandum for record. You're former military, you know to do that. I walked right in my office, jumped right up on my computer, like, fact, took it to one of my other employees and said, verify this. And by the way, this was all caught on camera and all recorded and time-stamped. It's like, this is getting ridiculous. Do
you feel comfortable revealing who the elected official was?
It wasn't an elected official. That's why I won't. Elected officials, it's pretty hard for us to go after everybody for defamation.
But this person was a government official, and they were chewing tail in your office.
Yes.
Were they using their position to do that with? Were they actually addressing the water or sewer issue or whatever it was, treasury issue? Were they doing it as a county official?
Yes.
That's inappropriate.
It is. I've sent several emails and had conversations with people. It's like, if you got a problem with someone or a tasking, come to me. The buck stops with me. I don't have a problem taking responsibility. I don't have a problem taking the blame if I'm wrong. I'm fine with that. You know it. You've been in the military. You protect your team.
Always.
You protect your team. You're the one that takes the bullet for them.
As a supervisor, as a commander, as person in charge, you are if there's a butt chewing given, I'll give it. You just talk to me about it, but don't try to chew the butt of my people without my involvement, and especially unprotected. That's just not appropriate. And especially if it was a government official acting in their official capacity, that smacks of corruption.
Yeah, it does. I hadn't really thought about it that way, but you're correct. And I'm a big believer is, you reward in public and you admonish in private.
Exactly right.
And that was just unacceptable.
Yeah. So like I said, the allegations in this letter have largely been refuted. I know that there's been some comeuppance and some mea culpa from some of the people who were accusing you of this. I know that somebody recently, one of your biggest critics on Facebook, has actually issued an apology to you. How does that go over with you?
You'll never convince me that person didn't know better. You will never convince me. And the absolute joy that person posted, the absolute joy they took in seeing me personally destroyed, my wife's campaign for re-election damaged, a person I'm supporting for Congress, he received calls from as far away as Garrett County and saying, well, if you're affiliated with Matt and he's got all this going on, I can't support you anymore. The damage, you can't unring the bell, Mark. You can't unring the bell.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Exactly. Not one apology from anybody that was involved in this. Not one. And here's what I did to tell you, when this thing broke and when someone was calling for my resignation, it's like, I'm not resigning. I didn't do anything wrong. I felt vindicated by the fact that the delegation shared with me, it's like, Matt, we don't give this any credibility. I actually asked a Democrat delegate to come to my office and sit down with my staff without me present. You talk to them. You find out what's going on. If there's anything, if I'm doing something wrong, you tell me. He came back and said, Matt, nope, we absolutely know who and what's behind this. And I'm not going to share that yet. Delegate Weibel has been a strong supporter of this and of me through this. It's like, Matt, we're not converting this position. Keep doing what you're doing.
So the delegation supports you, and I know that you, acting as the treasurer, you've seen a lot of the internal workings of the Washington County system. So my question to you is this. There has been a lot of public information requests, FOIA requests, that have come up through Washington County with people asking for information to be released. Have you yourself ever seen any county officials, whether it be on the county commissioner level or lower, city attorney, what have you ever seen any of them obstruct these FOIA requests?
Yes. I'm not going to go into any detail, but absolutely. And
now, for our public, a Public Information Act means that if I request records from my government officials of anything that happened in public, that I have the right to view that within a very modest amount of time. The allegations have been made that many FOIA requests were not honored by Washington County government. They were obstructing the release of this information.
I'll give you one personally. And this was really kind of interesting. When this whole thing broke, I'm thinking, my God, what do I do? How do I find my way out of this? First thing I did was the next day I went into offices, I authored an email to the office of the governor, the office of the special prosecutor, to the Washington County State's Attorney, and to the Washington County Sheriff's Office. And I said, these allegations are out there about me. I highly encourage an independent and thorough investigation of me and for me to be held accountable. Go for it. I knew I didn't do anything wrong. Then I authored a public information request myself to the county. Please share with me these documents and anything that's in my personnel file that may substantiate any of these allegations. So my first response to get back is, because of the nature of this request, this will take longer than 10 days. Okay, fair enough. I mean, I see these requests all the time, and I know the county's inundated with them. I didn't really give that much thought. Then 30 days passed, and said, because this is going to take longer than 30 days, delayed. All right. So then Ken Buckler starts putting pressure on, but I already knew the answer to what I was seeking. Already knew the answer.
Shout out to Ken Buckler over at Radio Free Hub City. Does an excellent
Absolutely. He's made me a subscriber. I knew that they didn't keep personnel records on elected officials. Why would they? You can't promote us. You can't demote us. You can't reprimand us. I don't believe elected officials should ever get any benefits. So I didn't enroll in a county pension plan or anything. So there's nothing in my file for me other than, I guess, well, there is nothing. It would be IT for my badge access, and that's about it.
Matt, let's talk about that for a second. What are the benefits of being a county commissioner? I mean, as far as salary and benefits go, what are these guys making on the taxpayer dole?
State of the Line County Commissioner was making $38,000. The president was $40,000, I believe. They just voted a pay raise over 8%. It's not an incredible amount of money for sure. But of course, being a county employee, you're eligible for a pension plan if you serve 5 years or more. And of course, everybody loves government health benefits. Me, I'm not taking it. But
so the health benefits, are those for life or just for the term?
For the term.
Okay. But they are good health benefits. I mean, they're excellent health benefits.
But here's the interesting thing, and I called our budget and finance department yesterday to find out what the true costs were for a county commissioner at that salary of what it costs. About $27,000 a year is what it costs to add to the pension plan and for health care per commissioner. $27,000. So over the course of 4 years, that's $108,000 for a part-time job. It's like, wow.
How many hours a month are these guys actually working?
I can't speak to that. And the meetings, I mean, they do have one meeting a week or almost every week. But I'd say realistically, 16 to 20 hours a week would be probably fair.
So a part-time job, they're making 40G and they're making full health benefits. But also, there is the status of being a county commissioner. Most of these guys own their own businesses and they own their own shops or what have you. you can't tell me that's not good for business to be known as a county commissioner. Here's the rub. We had Sean Porter on a few weeks ago. Sean Porter maintains, and by the way, he's a big supporter of you. We'll talk about that in a second. But what Sean Porter, who, by the way, for our audience, he is an auditor who is a pain in the neck for local government, but most of us in the media love him because he holds people accountable. He maintains that anybody who wants to be an elected official on a local level, basically they just want it for the power and the power trip and what have you. Okay. How would you address Sean Porter's allegations that 99% of all elected officials on a local level are scumbags?
I think that's a gross exaggeration. Scumbag, I think that's,
but you understand his point, right? His point is that, and the only person who would want to put up with all these headaches for a part-time pay would be somebody who's power hungry. I think that's his basic point.
I can't speak to anybody's personal motivation. I can speak to what mine is. And mine is, I decided to run for a job that pays less than half of what I was making before, or what I'm making now. If I ran for treasurer again, I'm sure I would have won. I'm not doing this for the money. I've got a good title. I've had some pretty good titles, state trooper, colonel. I've had some decent titles. It's not the title to me. It kind of giving back, and from my motivation, sitting where I've seeing what I've seen, I believe I'm a person that can make the difference. I can't be intimidated.
Yeah, right now, I just read an article put out about the 2009 water and sewage plan for Washington County, and how our Democratic state's attorney has used this lapse on this plan. It was allowed to lapse by the county council. Because of that water sewer plan being lapsed, they have successfully blocked the building of the ICE facility in Washington County. So, in other words, Washington County got caught with their pants down.
I don't disagree. This whole water sewer thing has been ignored for years. And we had somebody running for Washington County Commissioner 4 years ago, and their whole issue was water. And we have to have a Washington County Water Authority. I could not agree more. I believe that. I believe water is a matter of public safety. When we get into talking about public safety.
Anybody in the military knows that water is vital. It has to be a priority in any situation.
There you go. But my point is, leading with this, okay, that was great to run on, but where was the legislation? Where did we work with the delegation to establish a Washington County Water Authority approved by the Maryland General Assembly? It didn't happen. And let me expand upon that a little bit more, because there's a big issue here, and that's smart growth. Growth is coming whether we want it or not. It's
100% coming. We either plan for it or we get overwhelmed by it.
So my thing is, why are we not putting in the infrastructure, water and sewer, to do that, for that growth takes time. That's not going to happen overnight. These developments that we're looking at that are going to be built in 2030 and 2035, we've got to get that infrastructure underground for them now. Or have the plans and have the approval process and the environmental studies and all the things that are going to go to. If we're going to have our own water authority, and we're going to be pulling water out of the Potomac or some other reservoir, but particularly the Potomac, we have to go through a permitting process through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. You know how long that takes? Nothing happens overnight. But we've been talking about this since 2009, ignoring the requirement for the triennial.
And literally, it was required so that Washington County would move forward with a plan. It was kind of like baby steps, and they ignored that as well.
Something else has been ignored, and this is one that just bothers me, as the treasurer. In the Maryland statute, the Washington County Commissioners are required by law to bank, for the county to bank with the bank that pays the highest interest in the county. That RFP has not been put out, from what I've been able to learn, to back to 2008.
Explain to our viewers how RFPs work in government, please.
Okay, an RFP is a request for proposal, where they would just float it out. And in fact, on Ken Buckler's page, I put out an RFP for the tax bill, and you can go to Ken Buckler's story about what I did, and you can see the proposal that I put out to different printing companies for tax bills, which it was alleged that I violated the county procurement process in doing that, which clearly I didn't. That's why I released that. But the same thing for the banks. Put it out on the street, announce it publicly in the newspaper, all things like the county is soliciting bids, and for X number of our millions of dollars that we will have on deposit at any time, what bank is going to pay us the most?
That the RFP process is used by government to get the best possible outcome for taxpayers by making companies compete for government business. Avoid the process, that smacks again of incompetence or corruption.
So when I brought this up at a meeting one time in my first year in office, and this was a bureaucrat that said, gee, everything we would have to do and change in our systems if we changed with another bank. And this high-level employee said, I think I'd walk and I'd quit. With all the work we'd have to do to change, I'd quit. And I remember looking in the room, and I was the only elected official in the room, so probably the only one that could afford to say it. And I looked at him strangely and I said, then I guess you're not cut out for government service.
The proposal system does make a lot more work for people. People in government are like any other place. We like the same thing. Change is something that we don't really like, and I get it. But the process is designed to save the taxpayers money and to find the best procurement for that. It makes complete sense. Matt, well, I'll tell you what, man, I think that you're definitely in a good position right now, running for county commissioner, vindicated on many fronts that I've read about. I haven't heard of a single allegation that was made against you that was substantiated. Where are you going from here? What are you going to do now?
Well, I think it's time to get this campaign underway. I think it's time to do a few more podcasts, get a little bit more ink, get out in front of the public.
What, there's other podcasts besides Mid-Maryland Votes? Man,
hell, I might start one of my own.
That's good. That's a good idea. What's your game plan?
Flood the zone. Flood the zone. You know, by nature of the position I hold, I think I've already got pretty good name recognition. I've got a campaign platform, and you know, I'm all about authenticity, transparency of government. You know, we've got to fix this Public Information Act thing. In fact, let me address that real quick. This is one that bothers me. The county's got a reasonably sized public relations office. I'm thinking, like, how do we take care of this Public Information Act thing that's so overwhelmed? Why do they all go to the county attorney's office when we've got a public relations department? That seems like the perfect place where they all land. And then if there's something confidential, something that's contractual, okay, then it gets reviewed by the county attorney. My view on this public information, anything generated by a county employee on county time using county network and county systems and county paper is county taxpayers' property already. They already paid for that intellectual property and that work. Why are we charging them for these documents? They already paid for it.
What's the current rate that they're charging for FOIA requests for Washington County? Usually it's an hourly wage for employees and then some kind of processing fee.
I don't know. I know I paid $150 once as a county employee for one. I don't know actually what it is.
Municipalities can set their own rates under the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act. They can set their own rates for what people have to pay for the employees to gather that information and then get it to them. The requirement is it be reasonable and equitable.
And I stand corrected. I do know the rate. It is the rate of that employee, and the first 4 hours are free.
And by charging, I think the point is that you're going to put a kibosh on a lot of people for their FOIA requests because they don't have the money or don't want to spend any money.
And my view on this, Mark, quite clearly is, you know, what are we so afraid of by releasing information if we're doing everything right? I'm beginning to think my campaign strategy should be, or my slogan, what are they so afraid of? You know, it's like, transparency, is that what we're afraid of? Somebody that might hold government accountable? I could say, hey, county, you know, if your public information or your public comments are not being heard and you're not allowed to speak, email them to me. I'll read them to my comments. The public has a right to know what the citizens care about. You know, the government, we work for them.
You know, you brought up a good point, Matt. The fact that the county council has limited on occasion or cleared their hall or gone to executive session to prevent public input is a huge failing I believe, on our local government. I know that Sean Porter feels the same way. That's for sure. You're one of your biggest advocates. But what's your thoughts on that?
You know, I'm a paratrooper. They say a mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. Government should be open. It belongs to the people. This is not the Politburo. You know, I'm sorry. It's just, government works with the input of the citizens. And it's gotten, even at the county level, and when I first heard the phrase 2 or 3 years ago, deep county, I laughed at the idea. It's like, right, I'm friends with all these people. There's no such thing. I don't believe in this at all until I got on the inside and I started seeing it. And there is a deep county. And those on the inside will tell you it's not. Let me give you a for instance. May I take another minute?
100%. Please, the floor is yours.
So on that letter that went to the delegation.
Which, by the way, we're going to post the letter in our comment section so people understand what was put out.
It was signed by a newly appointed county commissioner, appointed in 2025. Anything that, well, nothing in that letter was correct, but the allegations in that letter date back to the most recent July of 2024. But we know there's no records to support any of those allegations. But that particular commissioner signed it and wasn't even there, wasn't even on the job. And I'm thinking, all right, what is going on here? And I confronted that person and I was like, I can't believe you did that. I would have never done that to you. And no matter how much pressure was put on me, you couldn't influence me to do that. Ethically, morally, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And it's like, how does this happen? What pressure do they put on people? And what are you so afraid of? Why do you want to keep that title commissioner so much?
Well, I agree with you. I think that that is some deep state stuff going on up there in Washington County. I know that the Washington County voters are going to have the final say. What would you like them to know about you and your run, Matt?
I'm a straight shooter. I'm taking quite a pay cut to do this job. I sure as heck don't need it. I don't need the benefits.
Or the headaches.
And believe me, these last 3 months, 2.5 months, have been pure hell. I want to thank everybody that's come out, the letters, the support, and as this thing has started rolling over and coming out, the people that have reached out to me as far away as Garrett County and Anne Arundel County saying, sorry, what can we do to help? I mean, I've actually got one guy, a local musician, called me yesterday. Matt, just tell me what I can do to help. Is it really that bad? And I said to him, it is. And I'll let you know. And it's very humbling, very humbling. I mean, this has been heartbreaking. It's been hard on my family. And the absolute glee this person took and seeing everything destroyed around me. I don't understand how a person can think or act that way. It just, I don't know. Where's the compassion?
Compassion goes out the window when anger becomes hatred. But that's always the birthplace is fear. Fear becomes anger. Anger becomes hatred. And so they're afraid of something with you. I mean, that's obvious. Maybe it's that you turn the lights on, the cockroaches are fleeing. I don't know. Well, good luck on your election, Matt. We are definitely happy to have you on as a guest anytime you'd like to come on Mid-Maryland Votes. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much.
And also, Matt, thank you for your service, both in the military and police, and now as the treasurer of Washington County. Your life has been about service, and we appreciate that.
Same to you, Mark. I know you've done double careers yourself.
Well, Matt, thanks again for being on Mid-Maryland Votes. We appreciate your input. Please feel free to come back anytime you'd like.
Thank you, sir. Very much.
Hey, this has been Mark Flynn for Mid-Maryland Votes. If you like the show, share it with a friend. We'd love to see you next time. And we'll see you next time on Mid-Maryland Votes. That was Washington County Treasurer and County Commissioner candidate Matt Breeding. Tonight's conversation wasn't just about politics. It was about accusations, accountability, and what happens when facts finally catch up with the narrative. At Mid-Maryland Votes, we still believe in doing things the old-fashioned way, face-to-face, honest, respectful, and without the social media cheap shots. Like, follow, and share for more content like this, and we'll see you next time on Mid-Maryland Votes.